Hi, so in this video, we're going to be demonstrating the different ways we can do mask baking with our Sequence Baker tool. So in the previous video, we did do an example of setting up the groups for the upper body controls, which excludes the hips and the body control in the default mani rig. And we should be able to show an example here if we just did a bake here now. The controls here are just showing the effects of only having the tracks animated on the upper body here. So note that we do have the removed excluded controls here checked off so that it is showing the default behavior with only the controls that we selected in our selection set being baked to control rig. So we're just going to quickly delete this. So what happens now is if you do have one or two animation tracks added to your skeletal mesh track, you'll see that when we have it selected, this new mask option will show up. So if we do click the mask option, it will ask you to pick which animation track. So in this first example, we only have one animation track, which is totally fine. And then from here, we have the option to split the mask track into two separate tracks. So with this checked off, what we can do now is if we do a bake, you'll see that we actually have two base layers with the lower body and the upper body. So if we disable one of these tracks, you can see that we only have the legs. And then if we disable the other track, we only have the arms. And note that I actually dragged the animation clip outside of the activation range of the control rig to have it reset and then bring it back. So you do need to do this in order to make sure that we have the consistent default state. But just to see that we can have this ability to have two separate tracks isolated with just the controls relative to each section. So if we expand these out, you'll see that this only controls the lower body controls and the ones that we did not select. And if we take a look at this one, this will include the ones that we only did select. All right, so as another example here, we're going to uncheck this remove excluded control channels here. And what will happen now is we'll preserve those channels that we have for each layer when we do the split bake for the masking, but we will get actually different results because the two layers seems to be fighting with each other when we do not have this checked off. So we're going to do another bake now, and you'll see that we have some varying results with this mode without the remove excluded control channels checked off. But we'll notice now that if we look into each individual layer, we do have all the channels available. They're just not removed because we did not check off this checkbox here for this option to remove excluded control channels. So likewise, we select this one here and we have the inverse where all the control channels preserved. So as an example, we can technically disable one of these layers and take a look at the results. You can still see that we still have the layered masked animation with the control sets isolated, with the upper body, the lower body animating here as well. But without this remove excluded control channels, we cannot have them both active and still see the same consistent results for the total added animation. So this is just in case you are using this feature, you may want to enable the remove excluded control channels here. So as another example, we're going to be trying this now with additional animation clips. So we're going to quickly delete this one. And we're going to quickly go to our stash to pick another animation clip. So we're going to pick this one here, and then we're just going to arbitrarily choose the jump as an example. And we're just going to plop it in, and we're going to scale it out to match roughly the same range. So from here now, we note that we hit refresh here on this mask animation track here. We'll have two animation tracks that we can pick from. So this can get a bit ambiguous because they're both named animation. So in order to make this less ambiguous, we're going to be renaming this to first animation. And then we're going to hit refresh. And then we can see that there are two different clearly named distinct options now for the animation track. So in this case, we're going to choose first animation, which means that we're going to be running the include control set against the first animation clip first. And then we're going to run the inverse selection on the second animation here, on the jump animation. So with this checked off, and we have the remove excluded controls channels checked back, we're going to run another bake with this mask setting. So now we have a net sum control rig with 2 layers as expected, with the same filtered control sets on both, but we have 2 animations driving this as the source. So as an example, we're just going to quickly disable these so make sure we have consistent results. You'll see that we have the jump running on the lower body and the run running on the upper body. So I'm just going to move this down a bit so you can see it a bit more clearly. So because we chose the first animation track with the upper body control set, we have extracted out the upper body animation from the run animation clip here, and we exclude, and with the inverse selection, we have the jump animation controls isolated for the other track here. So if we take a look at these in isolation, this is just the jump without the upper body. And then we take a look at this one, we have the run without the lower body. And similarly to the case where we did not remove all the control sets, where we uncheck this and we do the same bake again, we still get the separated animation clips without the deleted controls channels. However, we have the same effect where if we only enable one of them, we still have the isolated results, the inverse here. But when we have them both enabled, they have some different results because we have, oops, sorry, let me have them both disabled here, both enabled rather. And we have the additive of the 2 layers here, 2 base layers with the without the control channels excluded, then you do get this result, which is not exactly representative of the mask bake, but we can choose to use this option or not, depending on the specific case you want to do with your outputs from your control rig. So this covers all the kind of different ways you can do mask baking, whether it's on one track with one animation clip, or you want to do it on multiple tracks with 2 animation clips, and you want to isolate the control sets onto 2 different animation clips. All right, thanks for watching.